Welcome to another episode of our video podcast series, Explore All the Options. I'm your host, Cara Jenkin, and today's episode explores the power and role of parents, carers, and career advisors when it comes to apprenticeships and vocational education. We'll be exploring how key influences, especially parents, grandparents, and the school career advisors, can support young people in making informed, empowered choices about apprenticeships and vocational pathways. From personal stories to professional insights, we hope this episode will leave you better equipped to guide the next generation through all the options available to them. So with us today, we have some career advisors, including a parent, as well as a couple of apprentices that are out there being very successful in vocational education and training. So Lena Constantine is with us. Can you tell us a bit about your role and how you provide career advice?
Yes. So my role is overseeing an apprenticeship provider here in WA and across the nation. Essentially, we are a service that is federally funded by the government that aims to explain how apprenticeships work to both young people, people looking for jobs, employers, and trying to match them to try and get more employers taking on apprentices and trainees across the nation.
So can you tell us how apprenticeships have evolved in recent years to offer some broader career opportunities?
Yeah. So these days, and I know a lot of us will have that visual of the apprenticeship being a trade, but these days you can do over about 500 different qualifications as an apprenticeship or traineeship in the workplace. And that can expand from a lower level certificate at Cert 2 level all the way up to an advanced diploma level, and anything in between. We can go from those more traditional trades that we see in construction industries and mining industries to anything in cybersecurity and IT. We're doing a lot in the defence sector these days and pathways into supply chains and logistics. We do a lot in the healthcare sector where we're doing allied health pathways to try and get people coming in and learning practical skills while they are getting their qualification.
So there's a lot there to take in. Susie, who's joining us as a parent, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and if you had any idea that there's all these options out there?
Well, I have two sons, and I had no idea whatsoever about vocational education. Really, I'd never heard of it, or vocational major, which is the high school qualification in Victoria. So, yeah, I count it as one of the luckiest things that I came across, that both my sons have ended up doing vocational education, and I have really, it's been the best option for them.
So what role did you play in helping them come up with their career decisions?
I mean, I guess I just supported them when they were interested. I mean, as I said, it was pure luck. A friend of my son's was doing music at the Northern College of the Arts and Technology in Preston. And my son was interested in screen and media and art. And we couldn't really scrounge together academic subjects at all. So we just went there to have a look. When I saw the facilities, I saw the qualifications he could do, but mostly I saw how interested and passionate he was. And I just thought, you're just going to love it. You're going to, do well. And he has.
So was there much information for you as a parent coming through about vocational education careers, or was it just a lot more just university?
Yeah, I mean, at this previous school where my son went to, it was just like almost everyone, it was just assumed. And I think this is just very common. Like almost all my friends, everyone I know through the community, that everyone thinks that that's the only option, and it's certainly not. And I think it's just a real shame.
So, Lena, can you tell me, is this something that you think is fairly common, that parents sort of don't know about these options that are out there?
Very common. If you think about it, we only know what we only know, and we all grew up in different times, in different generations. So we're only exposed to the sort of careers and the way that we came through. I think if we all look back and think about our childhoods and what sort of industries and job roles were around us when we were growing up, it really does influence what you know as a person and what you think you're going to go and do. So it's really important that we do, as parents, open up our minds and do some exploration, have a look around to find out what opportunities are out there now, because there is so many different ways that we can help our young people get on a career path that will like Susie said, really inspire and engage what our young people are interested in different ways. And people learn differently, and people have different interests and different ways of learning. And this is what VET can bring to the conversation. And it's really important that we understand there's different ways of doing that across industries, across career pathways. Parents are the number one influencer on a young person's career information. I think 90% of students will tell you that parents are their number one influencer. And yet it's the parents that don't necessarily understand all the different pathways, and they keep changing, and new industries emerge and new jobs get created. If we think about, the digital world and the cybersecurity world and everything that's happening in that space, that didn't exist 5 years ago. The internet didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. So we've got to really think about how jobs are changing and how we have to stay on top of what's happening out there, so we can not necessarily know everything, but we know where we can guide our young people to, so they can explore and figure out what's right for them.
So if you've got students who are going to their parents and their carers and then the rest of their family to find out this information, and the parents don't know about this, and the carers, where do they go? Where can these advisors go to get some really trusted information?
Yeah, look, there is lots of different things parents can do. And I will say there's not one spot you can go to and it's all just there. That would be a really nice idea, and I'd love to see it eventually happen where we can have a place for parents to go to and see everything. But there's things you can do. There's lots of career expos that happen that you can go and attend with your child, and talk to different employers and different vet providers and different RTOs and universities, all in one place, so you can get an understanding about how you can get into a good study pathway. You can also do things online. There's lots of good digital assets out there at the moment. The federal government has invested in a lot of career platforms that you can go and look at, and it helps you explore different careers. You can get sort of 360 videos and see what workplaces are like and what careers are. Use your networks. If you think about people that you know in your network and you want to understand what they do in their jobs, get your child to go and talk to those people. There's all little simple things you can do to try and expose your child to pathways and careers that you don't necessarily have the information or knowledge on.
So when it comes to the students themselves, Carly, how did you find out about vocational education training pathways available?
Yeah, well, I originally went to an all-girls private school where it was more academically based. And for me personally, I didn't really feel as if I fit into that learning style. I felt that I was more hands-on. So me and my mom actually went to go check out a high school in Preston, NCAT. I think Susie mentioned it before, Northern College of the Arts and Technology, where I had an interest in trains, and my careers counsellor said to me, why don't you go down an engineering pathway? And that's when I decided to do a bit of research, and I found Northern College of the Arts and Technology, and that's where I found the engineering certificate too. And I thought that related a bit to trains, and I could try to do something more trade related. So I completed the certificate 2 in engineering in year 10. And then year 11, I ended up, from doing a year 10 tester program, found that electrical was actually my favorite trade. And I went to do an electrical certificate 2 the following year. And then the year after that, I ended up doing a plumbing and automotive certificate 2 and then I eventually came out with an electrical apprenticeship out of all of it. So yeah, that's how I found out about vocational education.
So it was that initial conversation with that career advisor that kind of pointed you in the right direction?
Yeah, it was kind of just the sentence of, well, what are your hobbies? And that really made me think, and it made me think deeply. And at first I thought it was a stupid question, I'm not going to lie. And I was like, why is she asking me this? And now looking back at it, I wish like I had been asked it sooner, because then I really would have had a direction and a pathway of where to go. So yeah, just like getting the knowledge of, what do I enjoy and who am I and where can I see myself, and what are my hobbies and what can I pursue regarding something that I enjoy.
And what did your parents think about that in your family?
At first, they knew I wasn't really doing that well at my previous school, and they knew that it didn't really fit for me with the academic pathway. So going to a trade school as they were a bit nervous, but as soon as they saw the facilities and spoke to the staff, Daniel, Not, Belinda, Rafaela, a few of the staff, they were like more than welcome to let me go there and really supportive of my journey.
Lena, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I cannot stress that enough. It's so good that you actually spoke about what you're interested in and what you, at such a young age, was piquing your interest, and the types of things that you were leaning towards and your attributes that you naturally have that took you down that pathway are so important, because that's what's going to make you enjoy a job. I see so many people in the workplace that don't enjoy the jobs because they're not naturally supposed to be in that environment. And so for young people to actually think about what it is that they're actually interested in can really help. And parents asking those type of questions, or guardians asking those type of questions about that, can really help you think about what sort of, how does that transfer into a career, and what type of jobs does that look like? And then you can go looking at those type of things. There's lots of quizzes and things online that you can go and do about that to help you guide down those sort of pathways. But love that, Carly. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Another student that we've got here, or was a student at the time, now is pretty successful in his job, is Benjamin. Was it your family or your career advisor? Is it your school that helped point you down towards your path?
Yeah, look, so I moved in with my grandfather when I was 14 years of age. We used to spend a lot of time bonding in the shed. He had an old Ford. I think I'd nearly tried to pull everything apart on him and upset him that I wouldn't put it back together properly. From there, during school, look, I didn't go very well in school, not very academically smart. A few family problems that I did have led me astray. Coming into grade 11, I did try and do sports, try to do as much sports as possible because I thought, I'll fill my time up. I ended up doing a bit of business and took on my certificate too in automotive. Now, although I knew I loved playing with cars, and at this point in time, I just got my P's, bought my first car, which was a four-wheel drive. I loved ripping every single bit of it apart. I wasn't able to realise at that point in time that this is what I wanted to do for a career. It was interesting that I completed my certificate too in automotive here in Hobart. And my grandfather came home one day, and he's a carpenter, and he was working on one of his job sites, and he come home and said, "Hey mate, have you got a resume?" I said, "Oh, I can make one for you." He goes, "What for?" I said, "Oh, well, what are you signing me up for here?" He goes, "Righto, there's a bloke I know and I'm working with, and he's a diesel mechanic here at Violet, which I now work at." And he said, "I'd like your resume." Believe it or not, I actually wrote the wrong phone number and the wrong email address. So that's still a bit of tasting to work out to get me into an interview. And that was over 5 years ago. So my apprenticeship kind of come out of nowhere because of myself not knowing what was out there and also not believing in the next step. Something I wish I knew back in school, what the opportunities were and how, they can be approached now. I'm very fortunate now to be involved in lots of areas with schools and getting a chance to talk to students about what their next steps are too. So I finished my 4-year apprenticeship in just 2 years. Within the 4 years, at 4 years' time, I become a leading hand at the workshop here in Veolia. So I'm second in charge, running a crew of 6 people now, and we have over 100 trucks. It's pretty easy to say that, my apprenticeship and my vocational education that I've undertaken saved my life.
How did it save your life?
So from a young age, my father left a picture before I was born. I lost my mother when I was 14 years of age. Now, this led me down quite a large rabbit hole, as you can imagine, as a young kid who just moved out of home and changed environments. I wasn't really prepared for this change. I don't think anyone ever is. Coming through school, I happily admit, I was definitely a pain of a child. I like to take all my frustration out on anyone I possibly could. Not in an angry way, but there's a bit of a rebellious way. Although coming into school, I stayed back a grade actually due to being quite severely dyslexic in grade 2. So this didn't help the situation. I felt like everyone in my grade was a year younger than me. It led me to feel that I wasn't where I needed to be, what was going on. I was very fortunate. In grade 7, I walked up to the counsellor and I said, "I'm not in the right grade." And they said, "Well, you're getting straight D's, so you've got to do something about that if you want us to change that." From there, I actually got straight A's in grade 7, walked in there, handed it to the person. I said, I'm going up a grade now. So fortunately, I didn't have to do grade 8. So I skipped straight to grade 9. Although I can't promise I kept those grades up for very long. In grade 9 and 10, 11 was probably my worst years. Everything caught up to me. I wasn't prepared for what was next. And I think the thought of knowing that I only had a few years left, I'd wasted what I already had at school, and I'd given up on everything, kind of led me to a point where I wasn't ready for the next step. Having an opportunity to take on my apprenticeship here at the Olia, or even having the opportunity to do vocational education at school, is what really made me realise with self-worth and understanding of what the individual is, powerful, and what they can do when they put their mind on it, especially something they're passionate in. I'm someone who loves cars, trucks, tinkering. So, yeah.
I can sort of tell that you've perhaps gained a lot of confidence, and it seemed to be like a bit of some leadership qualities as well there. So can you tell us a bit about where your career has gone since doing that apprenticeship?
Yeah, my career has changed phenomenally. My first 6 months here into my apprenticeship, I still have the same rebellious sort of attitude. I called out sick all the time, didn't want to be here because, the transition into a workplace from school, it's not the same. At school, you can wait your first class in the morning, might get yelled at because you missed it. But here at work, you have a responsibility and you have things that you need to do. I actually got a speaking to 6 months in, and that was that if you don't pull your head in and rock up every day and give it your all, that we'll give this job to someone who loves it. At that point forward, I definitely knuckled down, and I'm very fortunate. My leadership roles here in Veolia have grown amazingly. The facilities they have here, everything like that has been, it's wonderful. A big thing for me was we do self-paced apprenticeships here in the heavy diesel industry. So having the opportunity to be completely, wholly and solely responsible of how far I make it in my apprenticeship and the time was something that, although I'm heavily dyslexic, I used to trap myself in a room. Finish all the classes and get it done. And I learned pretty early on that the more I put in, the more I'll get out. So before, I had more responsibility at work, whether it was doing bigger jobs, getting opportunity to work alongside the bosses with stuff. And yeah, it's very fortunate that I now got an opportunity to be second in charge of the whole workshop. And the leadership hasn't just grown from work. After winning my Tasmanian Apprentice of the Year in 2024, my leadership roles have continued to grow outside of just work. There's the opportunity to have a chance to talk to children about their next steps and get out and do opportunities like this too.
Carly, you said that we went into an electrical apprenticeship after trying all these other things at your school. So how's that going? How have you been enjoying the trade?
Started about 6 months ago, and I was originally on a site which unfortunately got shut down about 2 months into my apprenticeship because the builders bankrupt. But then I moved to another small company for about another 2 months where I was doing a bit more residential commercial. So I got to do a bit more of like housing and really learning how to wire up a house. And that was in a warehouse, so it was kind of in a different setting. And then I'm now back with the company that I was originally with, and I'm at a different site. I'm in the city at the Arts Centre, and learning so many different things. I've been back I started yesterday, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's a great learning experience.
Is there anything about the apprenticeship that you thought was going to happen and wasn't the case, or as well that you thought is going to happen and is the case?
Well, for me personally, I started off in a trade school, so that kind of eased me into things a bit more. But like at the start of my trade school, I remember the day before I started there, I had like the only tools I had really put my hands on were a bit in the shed with my dad, just making something for a wood tech project, and building like a cat enclosure for my cat, so when she's outdoors she's like indoors outside. So I'd only done a few little projects. I didn't know much, and I was a bit worried that I wasn't going to be strong enough, or I wasn't going to know what the tools are, and be a bit embarrassed and let down by myself. But after going through this apprenticeship and after actually putting my foot through the door and starting it and realized that it's not what I thought it was. Like, everybody's really supportive and there's so many ways to get around, strength things. For example, in my automotive class, when I was putting a tire onto a car, my teacher said you can sit under the car with your legs straight out and use the weight of the tire on your legs to leverage it up onto the car, onto the actual wheel, onto the lug nuts. So instead of using the weight from my hands and hurting my back, there's ways around it. As well as getting to know the tools. It's all just about experience and learning and just trying to take in as much as you can. So, yeah.
Susie, when your children were looking at their options, did you sort of have any sort of niggling things in the back of your mind that you thought might be sort of any myths about apprenticeships or vocational education?
No, not really, because my husband's an electrician, so I have seen, firsthand what a great option it is. So yeah, when my second son was interested in doing that and my first son had already been through the school and had great experience, I didn't hesitate at all, really.
And what's been your reaction when you've seen them experiencing success through this pathway?
I'm so proud of both of my kids. I mean, I just think it's been, I literally, like Ben said, I really think it's changed their lives, obviously for the better. It showed them a really clear pathway to a really positive future and a positive career. Yeah, so I think it's just been amazing for them.
Lena, is there anything in particular that can really help and support apprentices and their parents when they're starting their training?
Yeah, so that's what the Apprentice Connect providers are there to do. They are a service that's free for everyone to come and chat to. We do have mentors that we have available that can help young people get through their first 12 months, and we offer that additional support. We also offer specialist services these days. So as we're trying to get more women into trades or Indigenous young people into apprenticeships, and we're also trying to boost our clean energy industry. So we've got these specialist services designed for those three particular cohorts, and that offers our apprentices and our trainees additional supports like peer networking, so they can talk to other apprentices and see how they're going, industry role models, so they can hear from industry about what they're doing in their careers, to sort of events and professional development and coaching advice. We do all sorts of stuff that's available there to help young people. We also have lots of stuff for parents guides and things to help them understand and what they can do to support their young people get through the first 12 months of their apprenticeship, because that's our sweet spot where we know we can lose people and they'll give up easily if we don't have them supported through. And dealing with employers as well, like Ben said, it's a new world when you go from school into the workplace. Helping them understand, what the rules are and the communication strategies and how to deal with people you don't particularly like in the workplace, or how do you communicate effectively with your boss if you need to talk to them about things, or if you're having difficulties, how do we help you navigate that in the workplace? So we're there to do that. And it's really important that both parents and young people and all our apprentices, no matter what age, know that we're there to help them anytime.
Benjamin, was there anyone that you sort of talked to? Did you talk to any of your family about anything that might have, any issues or challenges that came up along the way?
I definitely spoke about it during school with teachers and whatnot about my potential on going into an apprenticeship. Someone who would like to call himself with a black sheep in the family. A lot of the family are academic. They're in high positions and they've gone through university, and that's where I kind of felt my expectation lied. Very fortunate enough that my grandfather I lived with was a carpenter. So in the house, the expectation wasn't that you're going to go to uni. But look, I had lots of conversations with students and also teachers that I was close with. As someone coming through college, as much as I was a bit of a rebel, I was someone who had a big heart and wasn't scared to have a conversation with, whether it was my sports teacher or my business teacher or whoever it was, just about day-to-day stuff or things that I was thinking about the next step. My biggest influence into taking my apprenticeship, obviously being my grandfather, being the one that I can say got me the job here, but just the support that was given to me just by him wholly and solely was absolutely amazing.
So what does he think about where you've got to in your career?
he likes to take a bit of fame for it, that's for sure. He likes to say it's the reason, but no, he's very proud day to day. Him and I are close. Well, I call him nearly every single night on the way home, so I've got a 45-minute drive from home to work. I'll give him a call nearly every afternoon because he's moved away now, so he's moved to Victoria. So just getting an opportunity to talk to him and keep up to date with my day-to-day and how busy I always am.
Do you have any advice for anybody who might feel pressure to go to university or might be thinking that they really want to do an apprenticeship pathway as to how they can tackle it?
Yeah, definitely. I was actually very fortunate enough today. I did a school talk in one of our big colleges here at Hobart, and the same question got asked today. Getting the next step, especially for both grade 11 and 12 students, is very daunting. It's a very scary sort of situation in their life. Understanding that, it's okay that you don't need to know what your next steps are. If you're interested in something and you're passionate about the next step, and it doesn't have to be academically smart. If you feel like with your hands you're more passionate, or you're better in front of cooking, that side of things, to get out and have a bit of a try. And especially if you are still in school, get a chance to talk to course coordinators about other work experience. I think work experience is something that's really important. We see them come through here like work. Actually, one of our female apprentices that we recently hired, she did work experience with us and realised that she loved what she did. So I think whilst students are in grade 11 and 12 to try and take as much resources as possible that's in front of them and run with them.
Carly, what's been your family's reaction to where you've been able to get so far in your career?
My family, they are amazed. Honestly, they've said, even personally, I can see it myself. At a couple of years ago, when I went to my old school, I looked drained. I looked completely different to how I look now. I spoke completely different. I didn't have any confidence. I didn't think I was going to succeed. I knew that if I had stayed there, I probably would have gotten a mediocre result for VCE and not known what to go on to next. And they've just seen a complete transformation from how I was at that school to now, after completing my year 12 at my vocational education school, and even doing a VC subject on the side, getting the confidence to do a VC subject, VC English on the side, and actually get a score for that, where I've actually done pretty well. I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for vocational education showing me that I actually, giving me the confidence to actually go down that pathway and give it a try. So I'd say that they're pretty proud of me, and I'm proud of myself.
So what advice would you have to other students who might be sitting thinking this school that I'm at is just not my thing?
Firstly, I would say just ask yourself what your hobbies are and do a bit of research. And if that doesn't work for you, speak to different people, see what they're doing. If you're into movies, join a group on Facebook and say, hey, what careers are you guys into? If you're whatever you're into, just communicate and network with people. And if you're networking with people and they say, I'm doing this career, look up those careers and see what's local to your area. Give them a call, and maybe on your breaks, you can say, hey, I'm wondering if I can get a bit of work experience, even if it's for a week and it's not paid. At least you're getting some opportunity to get yourself a foot into the workspace and actually see what you're getting yourself into. And just, taking initiative, during your holidays, your weekends, and using your time in high school to get the most out of it, and see where you can go.
Okay, I'm just checking I think I've probably asked all the questions, but has anybody else sort of thought of anything along the way that they would like to add?
I was just going to say, Cara, that it's really one of the great things about VET and VET these days is that you can do VET in schools, and there is lots of different options about how you can do that. So you can start doing your cert to through a school-based traineeship in year 11 and 12 if your school allows it. So you can fit it into your curriculum. You can start doing 1 day a week in the workplace and 1 day doing your vet training at the RTO or TAFE, as well as doing your schoolwork. And it's a really good way to start seeing if that's what you want to do, and that will easily transition you into a full apprenticeship or traineeship after school. So it gets you started early, and it's a really good way for young people to start seeing if that's what they'd like and if that's what would be the best way for them to learn. It doesn't mean they have to give up their ATAR either. They can do ATAR and they can do school-based traineeships. People do both. I've seen people do a traineeship, go on to university, come back again and do another traineeship. There's different ways of doing it, and you've got to see what the value in both of those types of learning can offer you and where it can take you. Getting that workplace experience and getting that real work, a capability where you can apply your knowledge in the workplace is absolute gold to employers. And so that's something that I think all parents and students need to understand. If you've got that over somebody that's just got a qualification, you're ahead of the game. So that really helps when you're applying in a real work setting.
Yeah, and the other important thing that it does by doing the vet qualifications at school is it keeps kids engaged at school. Like, we can see a whole lot of young people, bored at school. They're not interested in what they're doing. And as an alternative, and NCAT is unique in that it does allow more than just, 1 day a week of vet. It does actually allow vocational as a major. So my oldest son came out with a Certificate 3 in visual arts, a certificate, and 2 Certificate 3s in screen and media. And my youngest son is, like Carly, going to come out with 2 Certificate 2s, 1 in electro, 1 in engineering. He's also done some of the Certificate 2 in auto, some of the Certificate 2 in building and construction, and he's got his white card, and he's got his first aid, and he knows he likes it, and he knows about workplace safety and behaviour. So he is, so far ahead, and he's interested and he's more confident. And so I think that those things are so important, both for the individual, but, just as a society, to get young people involved in something they're interested in. And I also think that, when you look at all these jobs that are coming up, the sort of things that Lena was talking about before, all these new industries, they're actually jobs that are coming through vet pathways. They're not through uni. You get them through doing a vet qualification. And I think that the benefits for vet, some of the things I would say in relation to looking at uni, is that people who do vet are more satisfied with their education experience. They are more employable. They, are earning while they're learning. So they're not getting a debt, and they're actually, this is massive for young people these days. They are miles ahead financially. It's very, very hard to make up that difference in pay. And also, you can go to uni later. Like, no one says you have to go to uni straight after school. You do this, you do that, and then you trade, and 5 years later you decide you want to do nursing, go and do nursing, or go and do something else. Like, so many people change careers. So that's one thing. And I think apart from the importance of it being at school, I think it needs to happen early, because parents don't know about it. And in my opinion, the only fail-safe way to let parents know about this is that education departments should email every single parent in year 8, year 9, year 10, year 11, and tell them these are the options in your local area. You can do this certificate. You can do that certificate. There's literally, like in our local area, I think there's 70 or something certificates that kids can do at school. So if you don't know about that, which no one ever told us, you can't do it. So I think that, and showing them what's available, showing them stories, and telling them about the benefits, all those benefits I just listed, those are things that the education department really should be doing. And if it's not making sure that every single parent and student knows about all the options, then it's really not doing the right thing by children.
Carly, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention as well, Susie made a great point about, students being disengaged and bored in, academic-based schools. And for me personally, that was the case. And doing a vocational education, the structure of it was perfect for me, because I remember in the academic school, I used to question why I was learning the things I was learning in maths specifically. Like, why am I learning this? When am I ever going to need it? But at my vocational education school, when I was completing VCBM, vocational major, I was actually learning, my English and maths was tailored towards what I was completing. So, for example, I was completing an electrical certificate 2, and the maths was how to calculate a house quote instead of something completely random. So that helped me stay engaged in what I was learning, and it made me feel like there was a point to learning it. And yeah, another thing is Susie mentioned is you could be going down your ATAR pathway and then going into uni, getting a HEC stat. But for a lot of young people, we can't afford to pay that off at the moment, especially with the housing crisis at the moment as well and everything going on. It's hard to be able to afford that. I know I wouldn't be able to afford it. So going and doing an apprenticeship where you're learning on the job and getting paid to do it, one day of trade school, and it's perfect. You're getting paid to go to trade school as well. It really makes a difference. And you come out at the end of it with, an apprenticeship, a certificate 2, a nationally recognized qualification, certificate 3, and then you can go do whatever you like. There's so many different streams. Even if you wanted to go to university potentially after as well, that's always an option. For me personally, if I don't want to be on the tools, after a couple of years, I can always go and do a bit of teaching and then come back as an electrical teacher. There's so many different pathways that people don't really think of.
I just wanted to add with students that are both in grade 11 and 12, that there's it's a stigma in schools that you compare your person that's next year. It's very common to see, because he's great at maths, I have to be. Because he's the best footballer of the team, why am I not as good as him? The importance of those stages in your life is to understand what you are happy with, what you're comfortable with, and mainly what you're good at. It's very common, I see quite often, that someone will say, well, he got straight A's in maths, but I'm getting D's, and all you're doing is self-destructing yourself. It's about understanding self-worth and, how powerful each individual are in workplaces. The possibility that you have of growth in each company, and it's important that you strive and ensure that you whatever you undertake, that you try and go into it with as much as you possibly can and give it your all.
I think there might also be a bit of a fear, perhaps among some parents, that they're sending off their teenager to work in an adult world, and what's the sort of how they might get treated by employers and things like that. Lena, is there anything in place for any support things in place for employers to help them?
Yeah, so we do a lot on the employer side as well. We currently have just created a module for apprentice supervisors. So anyone that's in charge of an apprentice in the workplace can go through and learn all about what the responsibilities and requirements are of being a good apprentice mentor and a good apprentice supervisor, and understanding how to be a good coach and understanding how to communicate with the next generation, all those sort of things. So we're really trying to help upskill employers as well to make it a better experience for our apprentices as they go into the workplace, because there's a fair bit of work that has to happen. And there's always we're always trying to make sure that employers are abiding by fair work rules, and they understand what their rules are, what the rules are of the law, to make sure that our young people are safe and supported. And again, we're there to talk to employers as well and help mediate any issues for both parties.
I mean, I think on that the like I said, with my younger son who's doing the trades course at school, because he's done it in year 10 and year 11, he knows from his teachers, this is how workplace is safe and this is how workplace behaviour is. So like if he's not going to have someone telling him, I'll go get the left-handed spanner or whatever, he's going to know, and he's also going to know if someone's telling him to do something inappropriate, that he knows, well, that's wrong. So it's kind of like it's given them a head start as well by doing it at school.
When I first started looking into trade, my first work placement, my mum was petrified about me going into the workplace. She didn't know much about it. She didn't know what the environment was going to be like. But after letting me do my work experience for the 2 weeks and getting to see myself actually putting my foot in the door and seeing how I go, she hasn't looked back. So just kind of, even just getting your parents to be introduced to the people that you're going to be working with, making them feel comfortable with, leaving you in that work environment. And then, maintaining the relationship, maintaining relationships with your co-workers and, in regards to your parents as well.
So a big thank you to our guests for their perspectives and experiences.
Thank
you.
We've heard today just how powerful the support from parents, from teachers, from career advisors, from grandparents, from other people in the family can be in shaping career decisions. As we've heard, VET isn't a backup plan. It's a launchpad into skilled, meaningful and successful careers. We've heard today how powerful the support from parents, teachers and mentors can be in shaping career decisions. As we've heard, VET isn't a backup plan. It's a launchpad into skilled, meaningful and successful careers. For those parents and carers watching, you have more influence than you think. So start the conversation early and feel free to ask questions yourself. For more stories, guidance and tools, visit the National Skills Week website. That's where you will find everything you need to support and inspire the future workforce. Thanks for watching, and remember, explore all the options and the right path is the one that works for you.